Part 17. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 168. While the students of Frost Moon Academy are enjoying the annual festival, Principal Phyllis is still making final arrangements for the activities in the next 2 days. Ritika, I don't have much work here anymore. You should also go to the festival to relax. I am already an adult. Teacher Letika puffed up her cheeks in protest while sorting out the materials on hand. Seeing her deliberately puffing out her chest, Principal Phyllis laughed unabashedly. I've told you before that you don't need your help here anymore. You can just go and supervise the order of the venue. If I accept this reason, you will definitely treat me as a child. Staying here is just to give yourself a coercive force. It's very childish to do this. Teacher Letika was once one of the most eye-catching students of Frost Moon Academy, and her thoughts could not be hidden from Principal Phyllis, who watched her grow up. I really want to participate in activities with the students, but I am a tutor. If I don't have a majestic image. Under the pressure of Principal Phyllis, Teacher Letika finally couldn't hold on anymore and revealed her true feelings. Actually, there's no need to think about it so much. Just look at her. Principal Phyllis showed on the big screen the footage captured by the surveillance crystal that was only installed in Shigetsu Academy during the Moonflower Festival period. In the picture, a woman with long chestnut hair was devouring food in an open-air stall. The students accompanying her all had helpless smiles on their faces. Tara is a good example. As a mentor for these children, the majestic image is not particularly important. What is important is to understand their hearts. I know this. You do know, but you haven't found a suitable method yet, right? In fact, integrating into the students is also a very important link. As long as you laugh with them and cry with them, you can feel the same mood. In your own class, aren't there such successful cases? Teacher Letika knew that Principal Phyllis was referring to the 4 transfer students from the twin class. So, even if you put down your work now, I won't say anything. After all the work assigned to you has been completed, why not relax properly? Now that it has come to this level, Teacher Letika can only choose to accept the kindness of Principal Phyllis calmly. Then I'll go out for a while and I'll be back soon. Okay. Seeing Teacher Letika bow slightly and leave the room, Senior Phileas smiled helplessly. Principal Phyllis has noticed such a strange girl since the days when Teacher Letika was a student. He has an unusual identity and background, and also has innate power. Although she herself did not hide it deliberately, not many people noticed this fact. The only thing that cannot be hidden is her beautiful face and pure temperament. As a result, when she was a student, she became the target of many opposite sexes, but her natural and dull personality caused their expectations to be disappointed without exception. After graduation, she stayed at Shimizuki Academy as she wished and became a class tutor. The person who agreed was Principal Phyllis, and it was she who suppressed the many objections for her. Even if this child has grown so big, he still can't make people worry. Perhaps Teacher Letika can realize her wish smoothly, or she may be frustrated by external interference factors along the way. Principal Phyllis will not just sit back and ignore her child. The appointed moment arrived silently, and the familiar soft voice came as promised. Brother, have you been kept waiting for a long time? Luoluo, who was dressed similarly to Ling, stopped next to Ika. Carlo and I also happened to change shifts. By the way, isn't this the shift schedule you arranged? Let's match the atmosphere a little. Luoluo was a little disappointed with Ika's rough nerves. Would you like to do it again? Ika made a casual suggestion. Please begin your performance. Luoluo cleared her throat, turned around and returned to the classroom, then pretended to have just come out. Brother, have you waited for a long time? Her attitude was completely different from the first time, and her words became stammering. Why are you so shy? There's nothing you can do about it. If you notice it, it'll be hard to speak. Lugo blushed and looked away. Since you're embarrassed, there's no need to force yourself to do it all over again. This atmosphere is also very important. Seeing that Ika didn't care, Lugo raised his finger again and emphasized it seriously. Okay, I'll remember it. By the way, is there anywhere you want to go? Because it was Lugo who took the initiative to send out the invitation last night, Ika planned to leave all the rest of the time to her. You can go anywhere, as long as you're with my brother. I will be very embarrassed if you say that. Unexpectedly, Lugo threw the question back. Ika had not thought about where to go next. The first grade class also has activities. Are you interested in going there to visit? Lugo nodded happily, and held hands with Ika naturally. I didn't expect there would be so many guests. The current shift is a bit busy. I have to make more preparations next year. Lugo complained to Ika quietly while walking sideways through the crowd. I heard that there are many open-air stalls in our class. Is it troublesome to arrange the time? Actually, it doesn't take a lot of time. It's not very hard work. Even if she says so now, only she knows whether it is very hard. It turns out that until the end, you never asked us for help. I don't think it's very difficult to do it alone, and it's so successful now. Isn't it the result of everyone's hard work? Judging from the results, it is indeed everyone's credit. It is because of this that Ika feels a little bit unwilling for Lugo. He knew very well how much time and energy Lugo had put into this Moonflower Festival. These invisible behind-the-scenes work will be included in the collective efforts. Even if it is considered to be pretentious, Ika will not deny this unwilling feeling. The important thing is the process. Isn't this what my brother said? Seemingly seeing the entanglement in Ika's heart, Lugo comforted him. No matter what is missing, there will be no results in the end. That's right. And I'm very satisfied with the result now. Don't you believe me, brother? How could you not believe it? If you say that, my brother rarely believes me. After Lugo pointed it out, Ika couldn't find the words to refute. Although I know that my brother is worried about me, if you go too far, it will be regarded as a strange hobby. People. What weird habit. Ika doesn't quite understand how girls think. If you don't pay more attention to your behavior, you may bring a lot of trouble to Lugo in the circle of girls. That's it. Aren't there a lot of guys in novels, who have special views on older sisters and younger sisters? This kind of answer was difficult for Ika to understand, but he still heard one thing clearly: don't the plots in novels rarely happen in reality? That's not possible. Lugo held the edge of the apron tightly and dismissed Ika's view in a low voice, because in reality, there may be a younger sister who is interested in her brother, and vice versa. Bar. Are you making an example of yourself? Ika looked over with an expression holding back a laugh. Certainly not. In anger, Lugo shook the hands held by the two of them hard, but Ika did not let her escape just like that. Don't get angry suddenly. I'm sorry, I won't joke casually anymore. Ika comforted Lolo with a smile and turned her head away as she puffed up her cheeks. It has nothing to do with me anyway, so I'm not angry. Yes, it has nothing to do with you. Her mood seemed to be more stable, and Ika was secretly relieved. This period of time should be to make Lugo happy. If it goes against the original purpose, Ika may regret it for the rest of his life. During the preparations for the festival, Ika had never been to the first-year floor, so she didn't know much about their preparations. Remember last year's Moonflower Festival? Our class didn't prepare any activities, right? Ika vaguely remembers that Abby and Zixi did say this. It seems like the first-grade exhibition activities are not any simpler than those of the upper-grade students. At the corner of the stairs, first-grade schoolgirls were handing out leaflets showing activities. Excuse me, bother you too? Probably because it was easier to face seniors than other strangers, the schoolgirl handed the flyer to Ika and Luoluo with both hands. Luoluo blinked at the nervous schoolgirl and took the leaflet showing the event from her hand. Her class seems to be a regular maid cafe. Thank you, thank you. The schoolgirl smiled softly at Ika and Luoluo, and then trotted towards the next customer. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 169. The first grade exhibition event was jointly run by 4 classes. Probably because it was the first time to participate in such a large-scale event, the most conservative format was chosen. Brother, there is a special offer for couples here. Lolo pointed to the corner of the hand-drawn leaflet and reminded Ika. Do we look like a couple? Picture. Luoluo nodded firmly. Where did you get this weird confidence? Because my brother looks completely different from me. If they look exactly the same, then there is no doubt that I am a pervert in cross-dressing. If my brother puts on women's clothes, he might be regarded as my sister. It's okay if you imagine it a little bit, but unfortunately, it doesn't exist in reality. Talking about the topic that gradually deviated from the original direction, the two walked into the first grade class. Master, welcome back. When I first stepped into the classroom door, I felt the warm welcome from the schoolgirls dressed as maids. Ika would never go near a shop like this when she was alone, this time thanks to Luoluo's company. I don't know since when, Luoluo let go of his hand and started holding his arm. Hey, Luoluo. What's wrong, Ika? Luoluo didn't use the usual way of addressing her. She showed a fake mature smile to the confused Ika. Are you really planning to pretend to be a couple? In this situation, there was no way to stop her, so Ika had no choice but to play with her. After sitting down at the small round table, the maid immediately brought the menu to the two of them. I'll choose hot coffee. So easy. Luoluo showed a regretful expression. Simplicity has its advantages, what do you want? Luoluo flipped through the menu in his hand, his brows furrowed tightly, as if he couldn't make a choice. You two masters can challenge this. The page the maid turned to was a large parfait for couples, and it was half price. This, you can't finish it? Although it looks only that big in the photo, the actual portion must be much larger than imagined. Ika hesitated. Well, then I'll order this. Luoluo, you are responsible for eating them all. If I can't finish eating, brother, can't Ika finish it for me? Luoluo, who was slightly relaxed, almost exposed their identity as brother and sister. This kind of puffy can only be eaten by 2 owners. The maid lady said the terrible words with a smile on her face. Ika, believe in yourself. Even after hearing the thoughtful reminder from the maid, Luoluo still accepted the challenge without fear. I believe in myself, but I don't believe in my stomach. Thinking of how she would feel after eating all of this, Ika's stomach already started to ache. Although the layout here is very simple, the environment is very stylish. While waiting, Luoluo looked around the classroom setting and made a brief evaluation. The curtains have been recut, and the color and brightness of the lights have been carefully adjusted. Because the menu mainly focuses on desserts and drinks, the cooking room does not take up a lot of space. This is a simple but elegant maid cafe without any magic at all. The first-year organizing committee member must be very powerful. He actually thought of uniting 4 different classes. As for her, brother, you have just met her. When no one else was around, her name for Ika changed back to its original form. When, is it the one who just placed the order? To count the first-year students I've just interacted with, 2 hands are enough. Wrong. Luoluo made a big cross in front of his chest with both hands. Actually, it was the girl who was handing out leaflets at the beginning. It turns out it's her. Looking back now, Luoluo had a simple eye contact when he took the flyer from her hand. I met her at the organizing committee meeting, but I didn't speak much. She seemed to remember me. To put it this way, it feels a little different from what I imagined. When the schoolgirl was distributing leaflets, she gave people a very nervous feeling. She did not look like the organizing committee member who unified the 4 classes. But if Lugo was asked to do this kind of work, he might be as nervous as she was, so it would be acceptable to compare. Brother, at that moment, I suddenly felt a little unhappy. Do you know why? No. I don't know. Yet. Lugo didn't seem to find the reason. She must have never imagined that Ika had just made the comparison in her heart. Is it because you and Ling have been together for too long? Lugo occasionally responds to Ika's thoughts. Lugo, are you really going to pretend to be a couple all the time? Their meals hadn't been served yet, so Ika lowered her voice to confirm with Lugo. No, I will pay according to the original price in the end. Let me correct you, I should let my brother pay. Who will pay is not important to us. Don't you feel weird pretending to be a couple? It's just a slight change in the way of address. There shouldn't be anything weird about it, right? Lugo didn't seem to understand what Ika meant at all. Yet, if Lugo, who is more sensitive, doesn't feel anything, then he may be the strange person. Ika did not continue to struggle with this issue and just let everything take its course. 2 masters, everything is ready. Please use it. The maid placed a huge parfait in an oversized glass in front of the 2 of them. Pure white cream and colorful jams are layered in the glass, and scattered nuts are evenly sprinkled on the ball-shaped ice cream. The rim of the cup where the cream and ice cream is about to overflow is surrounded by various delicate fruit slices. In comparison, Ika's coffee cup seems completely non-existent. Then please enjoy, 2 masters. The maid left with a smile of unknown meaning. There were many couples in the store, and they all chose this puffy, so Ika had been mentally prepared beforehand. But when this volume is placed in front of him, it is a completely different feeling. Brother, are you ready? Lugo on the opposite side has already picked up the small spoon, showing the aura of fighting. The dining table is both a battlefield. Ika has truly realized this from Lugo. Anyway, just do your best within the range that you can hold on. The melt-in-your-mouth texture is indeed delicious, and the fruit slices are also very refreshing. Even Ika, who rarely touches desserts, can't fault it. It's very yummy. Lugo put the small spoon in his mouth, showing a happy face. Seeing her expression like this, Ika no longer regretted ordering this horrible food. Ika knew that she was eating very slowly, but the amount of parfait in the cup was still decreasing rapidly. This may be from Lolo's mysterious power, although she also eats very little in each bite on the surface. Brother, open your mouth. What are you up to? Ika did not immediately do what Lugo said. Just listen to me. Lugo still did not give a clear answer. If it becomes like this, Lugo will not answer no matter how much he asks. There was nothing Ika could do but do as she was told. But since it was Lugo's request, there shouldn't be much of a problem. Although she sometimes makes some nerve-wracking moves, she is not the kind of child who doesn't know how to behave in public. Ika closed her eyes and opened her mouth slightly according to Lugo's request. Something cold was suddenly stuffed into his mouth. Well, it's not a strange taste in my mouth, it's just ordinary parfait. Ika opened her eyes, and in front of her eyes was Lugo's stretched out hand. Taste, how does it taste? So sweet. Ika honestly expressed her first thoughts. That's it? Lugo smiled reassuringly with a red face, and retracted his extended hand. Fortunately, it's not a strange smell. Then what? Should you explain it to me? When that thing was put in his mouth, Ika knew what Lugo had done. Because, everyone around is doing it. Lugo crossed his fingertips on his chest. We are also a couple now. Indeed, as Lugo said, the couples around him were all doing intimate things. If everyone is doing the same thing, there will be nothing strange about it. Obviously there is no need to go to this extent, but if you don't hate it, I don't care. Aika and Luoluo are no longer ignorant. They both know the meaning of such behavior. I don't find it annoying. It's your turn, brother. Ha. I just fed my brother a bite. Now, it should be my turn to feed me. Luoluo glanced at Aika shyly and cautiously made a request to Aika. Aika held her chin and deliberately ignored Luoluo's pleading gaze. Aika really didn't want to do this kind of public execution-like behavior in front of everyone, and the person she was feeding was her sister. Moreover, if you want to feed her, you must use the small spoon you used. As Luoluo said, you will become embarrassed after realizing it. It would look weird if I was the only one doing it. Elder brother. Hey, why do I feel like a bad person? Aika sighed as if she had given up, and stretched out her small spoon with Puffy in front of Lolo. Well. But Luoluo did not open his mouth, but looked at Aika with eyes full of resentment. What's wrong? Brother, there should be something else you want to say, right? Aika glanced at the couples at other tables and understood Luoluo's request. Isn't that what I have to say? It's rare to have such an opportunity. I also want to feel that atmosphere, can't I? Now that Luoluo has requested her, I would be very sorry for her if I continue to coerce her. Lolo. Come. When he put the small spoon into Lolo's mouth, Aika's heart beat violently in his chest. Luoluo put the small spoon into his mouth, and the stirring of the tip of his tongue was transmitted to Aika's hand through the handle of the spoon. Okay, it's over. It would be bad in every sense to keep going like this. Aika quickly took the small spoon out of Lolo's mouth. Although Luoluo still had a reluctant look in his eyes, Aika still pretended not to see it. Are you satisfied? Probably, satisfied. There are also couples around who have noticed this side and are watching from a distance with warm smiles. Being the center of so many eyes, Luoluo could only end the topic in a low voice, and kept putting Puffy in his mouth to cover it up. That's great. Holding the small spoon that was still in Luoluo's mouth just now, he looked at it for a few seconds, then took another large spoonful from the cup and put it into his mouth. The unexpectedly large cup of parfait was not as difficult to solve as Aika imagined. Aika made the wrong decision by ordering that cup of coffee. Luoluo, who seemed to still have some energy left, proposed that the two of them finish the cup of coffee together, but Aika did not agree to her easily even if she tried to be brave. As she said, Luoluo finally admitted their relationship and paid the original price. After leaving the maid cafe, there was still some rest time left, and the two of them strolled along the quiet paths of the school. The noise coming from the venue could be heard in the distance, which was in stark contrast to the silence around them. Here, the two no longer need to hold hands, so they do not continue to maintain a distance like lovers. Luoluo put his hands behind his back and lightly kicked his toes, while Aika just enjoyed this afternoon time. Speaking of which, brother. Don't you regret the incident between you and Sister Ling now? The expected question was asked to her a few weeks later. From the end of August's exercise until now, no one has mentioned it again. But no one will forget that everyone just deliberately avoided this issue. There's nothing to regret, I just did what I wanted to do. This is the answer that Aika has long thought of, an answer to reassure herself and everyone else. Brother, can't you tell the truth in front of me? I did not lie. Fundamentally, this answer is true. However, this lack of regret contains impurities and no longer seems so pure. Actually, I hate my brother very much. Luoluo suddenly said what Aika was most afraid of hearing during this period. His steps were frozen in place, and Luoluo didn't take another step forward. Aika has long been worried, wondering if Luoluo might already have this idea in his mind. My brother always makes decisions like that without permission, For one person's self-satisfaction, my brother has never considered everyone's feelings, nor has he considered the impact of his actions on those around him at all. What Lugo said was wrong, he had already thought about this problem. The reason why I still chose that approach in the end was because I arrogantly believed that I could find a solution to any problem I faced. But in the eyes of others, the fact that no problem has been solved means that they have not been considered at all. So Aika couldn't defend herself. Luo's words hit her heart like a heavy hammer, but she could only choose to accept it silently. Why don't you discuss it with us before taking action? After you came back from that world, you and Sister Ling didn't say anything to us. You didn't tell us until everything was over. Aika didn't want to hide it deliberately. During the time when he just came back from that world, he had not yet sorted out his thoughts, and even the final decision was only made when that day came. But during that time, they were also very worried, and it was true that they did nothing about it. Justifying or whatever, Aika can find many excuses in an instant. But he couldn't say any of this. He knew he was not qualified to defend himself in front of his family. I am. Luo did not continue to blame, she quietly waited for Aika's explanation. But now that the matter has reached this point, any explanation has lost its meaning. What Aika needs to do at this moment is to know what answer Luo wants to hear most. So, what exactly does Luo want to know? To this day, I have no regrets. This is what I mean. Here, there is no place to escape. Aika looked into Luo's eyes and spoke her heart with difficulty. Luo always faced Aika with eyes that showed no thoughts, and his sapphire-like pupils did not convey any emotion. I have only one purpose, which is to let everyone live happily. I hope that my current life can continue forever, but it has begun to become impossible. Unknowingly, everyone has connections with the Holy See and the royal family. The surnames of Chiz and Heinz are the fuse, and the magic costume is the ignition. The information revealed by Pope Sethis was authentic and credible, which was confirmed by the two heads of the Heinz family. The man in white whom he met in the imperial capital also conveyed a similar message, and in his memory they also appeared at Tiburai Royal Academy. After returning to Frost Moon Academy from the Tiburai Kingdom, Aika once asked Wei 11 alone about the details of that night. Judging from the results, the man in white from the Nemesis Society and the little girl whose name is unknown secretly solved the crisis in Tiburai Royal Academy and brought Aika back from the brink of death. The man in white had only one sentence left for Wei 11. If you understand the truth, then let go and fight according to your own ideas. Have you personally experienced what the Bes Empire did? Perhaps Augustus made such a decision, which was fueled to a certain extent by these words. Aika still doesn't know what the purpose of the Nemesis Society is. Maybe their starting point is indeed correct. But Aika would never approve of that kind of disregard for life. Because of them, countless people have been put in a critical situation, and some will never wake up. So I have no choice but to continue escaping. Obviously, when I left home, my purpose was so simple. As long as he can take the entrance test of Frost Moon Academy with Luo, it is enough to become one of its students. Maybe after graduation, you can stop becoming a national magician and open a small restaurant with Lolo in a small city or neutral area. You should be able to live a stable life. But reality will not allow people to have such sweet dreams all the time. It's just a little bit, probably out of remorse. It does involve you and Wei 11 who had nothing to do with each other. I'm finally willing to speak out. Luo finally raised the corner of his mouth slightly. I'm sorry, brother, I used a slightly rude method. The lively noise of the festival gradually faded away from here, and the two spaces seemed to be separated by invisible walls. If you keep it all in your heart, things that are originally simple will become complicated. If you don't use this method, you will definitely bear it alone to prevent us from worrying. She turned her head slightly and lightly kicked the small stones on the ground with her toes. I'm the one who lied. It's because my brother is like this that I like him the most. As if the dark clouds in his heart were blown away by the spring breeze, Ika thought for a moment that he was still in a dream. Luoluo opened his arms to Ika. So, as an apology, please take a rest here, brother. The warm sunshine shines on the avenue and between the two of them, as if the unreachable distance is now within reach. Although my sister is not the only one who can do such a thing, I am the only one beside you now, so please let me do it. This is the redemption that Ika has been longing for such a long time, and Lolo gives it to Ika without hesitation. Are you really qualified to accept it? Because she was her sister, she could forgive herself for what she had done so easily. Ika's already stiff feet moved a step towards where she was. Thanks. Even if she is his sister, if she can give her heart a place, why not accept it shamelessly? Ika knelt down in front of Luoluo and accepted the embrace she gave. The familiar warmth, the familiar fragrance, everything about her can relax your heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. And La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 170. How long had he spent in her arms? It may be past the break, or it may be a new round of breaks. Haha, brother is like a child. Luoluo smiled and stroked Ika's head, whispering in his ear. Feel sorry. Obviously he always looks great and teaches other girls not to apologize casually. In fact, my brother is the one who likes to apologize the most. Feel sorry. When he regained his composure, the lively noise of the distant festival also reached Ika's ears again. I looked at the time on the PDA and found that it was indeed past the scheduled rest time. It doesn't matter if it's in class. I already asked Sister Ling before I left. I paid a very expensive price. Cost. This is a secret between girls. Come on, go back. This time, it was Luoluo who extended his hand to Ika. In Luoluo's arms, Ika thought about many things and sorted out many entanglements. It's great that such a girl is my sister. The special atmosphere of the Moonflower Festival returned to the two of them. Sorry, I obviously promised to give you my time, but in the end it was the other way around. If my brother apologizes for this reason again, I will be angry. Luoluo deliberately puffed up her cheeks. I said that as long as I can be with my brother, I will be satisfied. Thank you, you really helped me a lot. What an honor. Luoluo imitated the tone of Her Highness the Princess and raised the hem of her skirt slightly to respond to Ika's sincere thanks. The special atmosphere of the Moonflower Festival returned to the two of them, and during the time they were alone, their time was still flowing normally. She's here. Following the direction of Ika's finger, Luoluo saw that the first-year girl who had distributed leaflets was now working hard in the front yard of the school building. I just finished enjoying my sister's body, and now I'm starting to pay attention to other girls. This statement will misunderstand people who don't know the inside story. No one else will hear it. Luoluo indeed lowered his voice, deliberately using this statement just to punish Ika. You clearly promised me last night that when you are with me, don't think about other things. Girl things. I just happened to see it. I got it. The schoolgirl also noticed the two of them, and her eyes met Ika's. It was rude to make eye contact and then immediately look away. As a result, the two of them stared at each other blankly for a few seconds. Ika, who reacted a little faster, waved to her gently, and she quickly bowed her head in return. What a polite child. When she lowered her head, she subconsciously took a step back, and happened to bump into the student coming from behind. The sole of his foot slipped as he staggered, and he fell down hard. The leaflet in his hand also scattered in mid-air. A gust of wind suddenly blew up around her, probably hoping to control the flow of the wind to recover the leaflets floating in the air. But the blowing wind made her skirt even more messy, and her magic didn't have the expected effect at all in the panic. As a result, the leaflets were scattered everywhere. Although they were far apart, Aika still saw the scene clearly. "I'll go over there for a moment." Lululo, who was jealous because of the girl just now simply let Aika go. Looking at Aika's back as he strode away, Lululo smiled faintly, and then immediately chased after him. "Are you okay? We can only help her stand up from the ground first." Aika held out her hand. Facing the seniors seemed to make her even more panicked. "No, it's okay. I have no problem." She tried to stand up, but her legs seemed to have no strength and she failed several times. It looked like he was in a lot of pain when he fell just now, so of course he couldn't be completely fine. "Yes, I'm sorry, senior." Finally realizing that she couldn't do it alone, the schoolgirl put her little hand in Aika's palm. With Aika's help, she finally stood up. "Brother, give it." During this time, Lululo and the kind-hearted tourists around collected the scattered leaflets. "Thank you, that's a big help." Aika took the leaflet from Lululo's hand, but did not immediately return it to the schoolgirl's hand. "Senior." She looked at the flyer Aika held in her hand with some confusion. "Brother, do you want to help her finish these?" Lululo saw Aika's intention at a glance, and her tone revealed full of helplessness. "Sorry, I can't stay with you until the end." Aika touched Lululo's head. "I knew it would be like this." She sighed, then smiled. "If my brother pretended not to see it, I might be really angry." "Haha. So this time, I forgive my brother." "Thank you. You should go back first." After being away for such a long time, the classroom may have been in chaos. "I will go back as soon as I resolve the matter here. Before that, Carlo-san needs to be alone. I'll also find someone to help cover the shift, and it won't take long here." Aika took out the PDA, which finally eliminated all Lolo's worries. Watching Lolo's little back disappear alone in the crowd, Aika was able to take care of the anxious schoolgirl next to her. "Senior, I'm really sorry to trouble you this time." When Aika turned to look at her, she hurriedly lowered her head. "I haven't introduced myself yet. I am Karel from the first grade Pisces class." "Don't be so nervous, I heard about you from my sister." As expected, he is Senior Lululo's elder brother. "Have we met somewhere?" She seemed to know Aika, but Aika couldn't remember when the two had been in contact. The new semester has just begun, and the names of classes and classrooms have not been changed. This seems to be one of the characteristics of Shimizuki Academy. The current second grade classrooms are still on the first floor, while the first grade classrooms use the third grade classrooms from last year and are located on the third floor. Therefore, Aika had never taken the initiative to go to a first grade classroom before the Moonflower Festival. "When school is over, I occasionally see you in the hall." So that's it? Although I was sorry for her, Aika really had no impression. "I know Senpai hasn't noticed me, but Senpai is very famous among the first graders. I also heard a little about it." Corel's cheeks turned slightly red and she looked away embarrassedly. "I've already guessed what the topic is. Okay, I know." Aika didn't expect that he would become a topic of conversation among the first-year students so quickly. He really didn't know what kind of expression he should make. "Anyway, let's send out these leaflets first. Is your foot okay?" "Ahaha, it's much better now, let seniors worry." "It doesn't matter. The magic you used just now is very powerful. It would be even better if you could control it well." Aika herself felt a little embarrassed when she suddenly acted like a senior in front of her schoolmates. Corel's face suddenly turned red, probably remembering how disheveled she looked at that time. "Please, senior, please forget what happened at that time." Sorry, is that magic to control the wind? The basic magic for first-year students only has the 4 attributes of fire, water, light, and darkness. The magic she uses is elemental magic that is difficult for second-year students to master. It's not that powerful, because I'm an elf, so I can use natural magic when I'm born. Karel showed Aika the 6 thin wings formed by condensing magic power on her back, which is a characteristic of the elves. I see. Aika thought of Lilu, who was also an elf. It sounds like I haven't visited her class yet, so if I still have time later, I'll drop by and say hello. Karel put away her thin wings, and Aika handed 1/3 of the leaflets into her hands. Then, let's work hard together and try to send all these out within 10 minutes. Okay, senior. Karel once again showed a sweet smile, and started working again with Aika with great enthusiasm. Even more smoothly than planned, the two men's work was soon over. After that, Aika sent Karel back to the first grade classroom on the 3rd floor. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 171. The fulfilling and busy first day of the Moonflower Festival came to an end when the horizon began to turn pale red. The radio announcement announcing the end spread the news throughout Shimizuki Academy. The crowds gradually dispersed, and the stalls on both sides of the main road began to be recycled. The residual heat after the festival is also worth remembering. Aika is currently sitting on the ladder with Carlo dismantling the interior decoration of the Gemini classroom. You seem to be in a good mood. Carlo joked about Aika. He probably really forgot all about being abandoned by Aika in the morning. How do you know? You can tell it by just calling anyone here. Let me think about it. The biggest change in you is the atmosphere around you. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're saying at all. Aika continued what he was doing, ignoring his words. Have you decided who to invite to the bonfire party tonight? Haven't thought about it yet. He answered Carlo's question calmly. This kind of problem must be difficult for you. Carlo nodded to himself. You are not qualified to judge me at all. And stop talking to yourself, other teams have already started to finish their work. Oh, sorry. After being reminded by Aika, Carlo moved the tools in his hands again, but I kindly advise you to spend more time thinking about the bonfire party. When did you become so interested in this kind of activity? I'm not interested, I'm just saying this to you. It doesn't matter what happens to me, but among those in your family, you can only choose one person, remember. Why? Girls are different from boys. It should have spread throughout their small circles. The meaning of inviting dance partners and confessing to Shimizuki Academy's bonfire party is the same. No way. Is it such a serious activity? This is indeed the first time Aika has heard of this fact. There was still a few hours until the bonfire party, but no one mentioned it at all. That's why I asked you to take more time to think about it. I guess that you don't know about this yet, and they probably don't want you to know in advance. Thanks. The first thing that jumped into Aika's mind were various avoidance plans. Aika, like Carlo, has no great interest in this kind of activity and just plans to participate casually. But if there is such a special meaning behind it, then choosing not to participate is definitely the safest way. By the way, isn't it okay if I partner with you? Sorry, I won't participate. Carlo simply rejected Aika. Why? Isn't this the best of both worlds? Our problems and yours have been solved. It would make sense if we were both girls. Two boys dancing at a bonfire party. Just thinking about it? Stop talking. Aika was also physically disgusted by such a scene and couldn't accept it at all. Anyway, come on. You two, are you lazy here? Chiuke came under the ladder of the two of them with his hands on his hips and checked the progress of their work. Under Chiuke's forced supervision, the two men finally completed their work within the allowed time. Send the discarded materials to the designated location in Frost Moon Academy, where Aika and Carlo parted ways. The time when I thought I could finally relax turned out to be a little concerning because of Carlo's kind reminder. Ah, You are indeed here. A familiar voice came from behind Ika. He turned his head and saw that Ling and Wei 11 were walking towards this side. Chiuke told us. When we went back to the classroom to find you, only Chiuke was still there. She said you and Carlo were here. Ling added to Wei 11's words. That's it, my work here has come to an end. The two of them that concerned him so much happened to appear at this time, and Ika could only be careful not to let them notice what she was thinking about. Where's Luoluo? She was called to the office by tutor Letica. Let's go back to the classroom and wait for her. You go to the classroom first, I'll come back later. Brother Ika. Wei 11 seemed to notice Ika's unnatural behavior. I have something to talk to Carlo about. He shouldn't have gone far yet. I'll go look for him. Can't you just send him a text message? It shouldn't be something very important. Ling did not immediately release Ika. It's a very important matter. Please explain it clearly in person. Now I can only think of such a flawed excuse. If Ling continued to ask, Ika would not be able to answer the question. Sister Ling, let's go back first. When Ika was in a dilemma, Wei 11, who probably hadn't realized what Ika was thinking, reached out to him. But, that. Brother Ika, we are waiting for you in the classroom. Wei 11 gave Ika one last reluctant look, then pulled Ling away, who was dissatisfied with the cold stare. Ika indeed placed her only hope on Wei 11 at that moment, but she didn't expect that she would actually take action. However, the look in her eyes that seemed to see through the lie in the end made Ika feel mixed. Anyway, let's get out of here first. Regardless of whether Wei 11 and Ling have doubts about their lies, now is the time not to worry about such things. Going back to the classroom with them now will probably not end well. Ika walked slowly along the path of the school, which was getting quieter. He had promised the two of them that they would return to the classroom immediately, and of course he couldn't break his promise. Or, they don't have the kind of thoughts Carlo said at all, and now they are just wasting time thinking about some unfounded troubles. However, even if there is only one chance in 10,000, Ika must come up with a method that everyone can accept. The sky was getting dark, and Luoluo should have returned to the classroom to wait. Until now, Ika still hasn't thought of anything. Walking back along the original path, he passed by a group of classmates who were noisily leaving in the opposite direction. What a luxurious worry. Ika is so self-deprecating. When he reached the bottom of the teaching building, he no longer wanted to waste time on such things. It was only right to let everything take its course. The classroom door was closed tightly, and the conversation inside could not be heard. There is nothing to worry about. Ika put her hand on the door. So slow. When he opened the door, he was greeted by Ling's complaints. She leaned against the window, and the evening breeze that blew into the classroom from the open window raised her long blonde hair. Welcome back. Wei 11, who was sitting in her seat, showed a slightly surprised smile, but she just conveyed her feelings to Ika. Luoluo didn't say anything. When she saw the classroom door being pushed open, she just moved a step forward from her original position. Sorry for keeping you waiting. Brother, let's have dinner in the classroom. Want to eat here? Feeling a little strange about Luoluo's sudden proposal, Ika turned to look at Ling and Wei 11. Today's ingredients are left over, so I borrowed the cooking room in the third school building to do some simple processing. Ling didn't look surprised at all. Ahaha, to say process is too. Wei 11 smiled bitterly and left her seat, preparing to help put the table for 4 people together. Although I don't know what Luoluo's plan was, Ika helped the girls do the hard work first. Just a very simple dinner. Luoluo put down the multi-layer lunchbox that Chiuke left here on the put-together table. As Luoluo said, unlike luxurious lunchboxes, the dishes are indeed not luxurious. It was originally the leftover ingredients from the restaurant, so of course you can't expect too much. But even so, Ika still feels that sitting here, a warmth can spread in her heart. Let's go to the bonfire party later. Luoluo said this after everyone cleaned up the traces left in the classroom. Agree. After practicing with Augustus, there will definitely be no mistakes this time. Lingyi had no objection to Luoluo's proposal at all, but instead seemed confident. The order of the dance partners, just reverse the order of Augustus. Why? Luoluo pretended to put forward the second suggestion naturally, but was immediately rejected by Ling. After being turned upside down, it's still the same position. This proposal seemed to have no impact on Way 11. Let's rearrange it. But there is nothing here, and it was decided in a hurry in August. There was no time left for Ika to be in trouble, and the girls began to make plans for the bonfire party that was about to start. Judging from the results, Ika's worries are indeed unfounded. Things did not develop in the direction they imagined, and they had already gotten the answer. Perhaps, this is also the result Ika hopes to see. There is indeed a little bit of disappointment, but he will not have any more extravagant hopes above this. If we can continue to live like this until a few years later, until more than 10 years later, until decades later. If such a dream could be allowed by the world. If an equivalent exchange must be made for this. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 172. Immediately afterwards, the maze exploration lasted for 2 days, using the central square of Shijizuki Academy as the venue and held within a closed barrier. To the outside world, the Moonflower Festival of Shigetsutsu Academy only lasts for 1 day, which is the first day of the festival. The maze exploration on the second and third days will not be open to the public. Shiyu Academy has returned to its normal atmosphere, and unrelated persons are not allowed to enter or leave Shiyu Academy at will. First-year students are not eligible to participate, and the competitions for sophomores and juniors will be held on 2 days respectively. Each day's competition is limited to 6 hours. At the end, regardless of whether the maze is cleared or not, the groups within the barrier will be forcibly removed from the barrier. Some of the instructors stayed in the central square, ready to deal with various accidents during the competition. The so-called maze exploration uses special barrier-type magic tools to develop a simulated environment. Each class is divided into 5 groups. There is no limit on the number of groups, and the group members are limited to students in the class. The maze environments within the barrier vary. Even though 2 forests look the same on the outside, the details inside are completely different. The prerequisite for the team's victory is not only to leave the maze, but also to activate 4 pedestal devices randomly set at different locations, so relying on strength or brute force to rush forward is not a feasible method. Each maze is connected to each other by a teleportation magic circle, and the teleportation destination is randomly designated. Clearing the opponent's maze is also determined as a victory. At the same time, as a double insurance, each person is also issued a small pendant-type magic tool, which can be activated in an emergency to leave the barrier, which also means voluntary abstention. It really turned out like this. There are 22 students in the twin class, which would be 2 more students if divided equally. Ika, Luoluo, Ling and Wei 11, it seems that it has become a conclusion in everyone's mind that these 4 people will form a group. The strength of this group is very clear to the students who have been together for half a year, so a weak group was expanded to 6 people. Looking at his familiar companions, Ika smiled bitterly. We must have been alienated by everyone. Although it was very reassuring to be in such a group, when everyone had no objection to the self-evident results, Luoluo was indeed a little worried. If the scores from this competition will not be counted into the final class total score of the Moonflower Festival, but will be regarded as individual scores, they will probably change their minds. Ling told Luoluo the real reason for this result. Everyone seems to have high expectations for us. Wei 11 waved her hand sheepishly and responded to the calls from the students around her. Our class depends on you. Ling, we have fought until now because of your words, so we must not lose in the end. Originally I wanted to average out my strength to increase the possibility of winning, but in the end it was safer to make a breakthrough. Luoluo's worries were completely unnecessary. Instead, they gathered the hope of the whole class. Hey, 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 don't put such a big burden on them before the game starts. Chiuke suppressed everyone's excitement with one sentence. We will definitely work hard for the sake of the class, and everyone must also work hard until the end. It would be great if we could meet at the finish line together. Oh! As soon as the relieved Luoluo finished expressing his position on behalf of his group, the boys' voices resounded in the preparation room of the twin class. While serving as a member of the Gemini class organizing committee, Luoluo's popularity among boys seems to be growing rapidly. Coupled with the good relationships that have been built among the girls, her popularity in the twin class may be second only to Chiuke. Ling and Wei 11 are also equally popular, but Luoluo also naturally has a motherly feeling, so she may be even better. The above comments and speculations come from her brother. Maybe it was because he was more partial to Luoluo, but Ika didn't take the strange idea that suddenly popped up in his mind seriously. Do you just wear this thing on your belt like that? Ling was referring to the pendant-type magical device used for emergency escape. Both she and Wei 11 tied this small thing to their wrists. Put it here, it will be handy if you really need to use it. Although this kind of magic tool is distributed every year, the opportunity to actually use it seems to have never appeared. Of course, this was only what he heard from other classmates. To be on the safe side, Ika did not ignore this little magic tool. Lolo returns here from other circles. It's about to start. I'm not too nervous. It's obviously a very important game. Actually, Sister Ling and I feel the same way. Luoluo put his hand on his chest and felt the steady beating in his chest. Compared with not knowing what will happen next, such a game is more reassuring. Ika didn't become nervous either. Maybe the only one who was really nervous was Wei 11, who always took it seriously. I am not nervous either. Such a smile is completely unconvincing. Luoluo knelt down and gently rubbed Wei 11's stiff smile. I want to say something rude. Ling said this to Ika. I wasn't very nervous just now, but after I noticed that you were here, I didn't feel that way at all. It seems that I always feel nervous wherever you are. Something is going to happen. This statement is really disrespectful, and my heart is deeply hurt. Then I'm really sorry. There was no sincerity in what Ika and Ling said, they just started quarreling out of habit, out of boredom. Is everyone ready? Chiuke's energetic voice focused everyone's attention on her. Remember, no matter what the result is, just have fun with the process. But I don't mean to let you relax. The preparation time left for each class is almost over, and the whole class must now gather in the central square. Chiuke is in the same group as Abby and Zixi, and is also a highly anticipated group, but there is no trace of anxiety from her. Ika admires this aspect of Chiuke very much. Is his outstanding leadership ability innate or developed in Chiyu Academy? He planned to find time to ask her for advice after the Moonflower Festival was over. Leaving the preparation room of the twin class, students from the other three classes also passed by in twos and threes. Ah, classmate Luoluo. From the crowd, a voice greeted Luoluo. The other person was a boy in the same grade that Ika didn't know. He waved to the side in the crowd and walked towards the two of them through the crowd. Your friend? Ika asked Luoluo quietly. She did not show any confusion because she was suddenly stopped. He is the organizing committee member of the Aries class, probably, a friend. Luoluo expressed some hesitation at this statement. They probably met at the organizing committee, and Ika felt a little relieved. The boy came to the two people who stopped and first introduced himself to Ika. First meeting, classmate Ika, I am Brad Rossi from the Aries class. Please give me your advice. When she first saw Brad, Ika felt a slightly different feeling from him than other people. After he reported his family's surname of Roxy, Ika immediately found the source of that strange feeling. It's that inexplicable sense of confidence. Hello. His identity made Ika wary. It is said that the Fu family has a considerable status in the BZ Empire, and what happens in August will also reach their ears. It seems that there may be some small misunderstandings between us, Brad said, raising his hands to show the hostility that he did not have. Although our family is a family with the surname Fu, at least I am not your enemy. Classmate Luoluo knows, right? He looked at Luoluo, who was nervously looking at the tense situation between the two. Ling and Wei 11 noticed that the two of them did not follow, and it was not convenient to approach them in this atmosphere, so they could only watch from a short distance away. Brother, classmate Brad probably won't do anything to us. Luoluo also affirmed his attitude. Have you known this for a long time? Luoluo seemed to have had contact with him, knowing that his identity had been exposed, and Ika became a little anxious. It was Brad who proposed it on his own initiative. He also promised me that we would not consider each other's family status in the academy. As Luoluo said. Can't you let down your guard against me now, Ika? If he had an agenda against us, he wouldn't have identified himself in the first place. Now that Luoluo is so sure, Ika can't continue to maintain such an attitude towards him. There was still a hint of unhappiness in Ika's heart. Why can Luoluo trust him to this extent? Were they really just in contact during the organizing committee? Ika, Lolo, and Brad, what a rare combination. Lilu, who was also in the Aries class, came to the three of them quietly. None of them noticed that Lilu had been here since then. Then I'll take the first step. Now that Lilu, an outsider, appears here, there is no way to continue the topic just now. Brad gave a slight greeting to the two of them, and then strode towards the meeting place. What did you and Brad say? Lilu didn't seem to hear the conversation between the three about their family background, and Ika felt relieved a little. It's just that we met by chance. Is that all? I have to go. Brad and I are in the same team. Lilu didn't seem that interested in this topic, and Ika dealt with it easily. Looking at Lilu's back as she trotted away in a hurry, Ika calmed down a little. Elder brother. What's up? He realized that his tone was a little harsh, and this emotion must have been noticed by Luoluo. I'm sorry, I never told you about Brad. It doesn't matter. I don't have to know everything about you. Hey, what happened? After Brad and Lilu left, the two men who were watching not far away returned to them. Ling could tell at a glance that Ika was in a bad mood. Let's talk about it after it's over. There was no one else around, and there was really no time to explain what had just happened. Ika doesn't want to mention this matter anymore. Then you must tell us everything after it's over. Brother Ika looks a little strange. Wei 11 said very worriedly. It's not a little bit, it should be very strange. Anyone can see it. Moreover, there is another person who becomes strange. Lolo, who was treated with a cold attitude by Ika, rarely walked side by side with Ika, but followed him in frustration. At the moment when neither of them explained anything, Ling couldn't think of the reason. Teacher Letica was walking back and forth anxiously at the entrance. As a class teacher, she could not leave here to look for the 4 people who had not come yet. Late. I'm sorry, Teacher Letica, I was delayed a little bit on the way. Luoluo quickly apologized to Teacher Letica on behalf of everyone. I barely made it. You guys hurry up to the meeting place, the second row on the left. Teacher Letica hurriedly explained and pushed them into the central square. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 173. The competition progress in the 20 competition areas within the boundary is broadcast live on a large screen, and you can also freely choose different areas to watch using a PDA. Using the class's teleportation magic circle, each group entered the barrier one after another. I'm sorry just now. After Aika entered the class team, she finally adjusted her current mentality and lowered her voice to apologize to Luoluo. This way you can focus on the game. Luoluo didn't seem to expect that Aika would say this, and was confused for a while before lowering his head. Although Aika deliberately concealed it, Ling and Wei 11 still noticed this youthful scene. After the dazzling light dissipated, everyone slowly opened their eyes. What appeared in front of us was a quaint small town. Aika originally thought that the scenes were all in the wild, but this answer was a bit unexpected. Wow, so true. Ling ran to the stream at some point and put his hand into the slowly flowing stream. You really aren't nervous at all. Aika also followed Ling's example and reached out to touch the water, which was no different from the water in reality. People who imitate me have no right to say such things. Boundary magic can actually achieve this level, it's amazing. He murmured. This is the realm in the barrier. You have all seen it once at that time. Wei 11's words reminded everyone. When he was in the imperial capital, the domain spread out by the man in white from the Nemesis Society covered the entire street, and everything in it could be used by him. In that case, isn't the field just a high-level magic? Is there actually a magic tool that can deploy 20 of these things at the same time? None of the three people had considered this issue before entering here. The main reason is that they don't understand barrier magic, and they can only understand it when they experience it personally. The field is not that powerful, to put it simply, it is just reproducing the scene in the mind inside the barrier. Wouldn't that be awesome? Can you please let Xiao 11 finish speaking? There are many types of basic magic formulas for barrier magic. The simple field just adds your own impression to the basic magic formula, the only difficulty is that you need enough magic power to maintain. Wei 11's small class ended here, because something other than them had appeared. What is that, robot? The first person to notice the strange thing was Ling. She was already standing in front of everyone holding two small swords. After returning from August, there is little point in continuing to hide the magic equipment, but it will only be used when necessary. Not knowing how threatening the robot in front of him was, Ling chose the safer approach. Is this thing also part of the field? Aika also summoned two guns to guard the backs of Luoluo and Wei 11. This should be the content of the competition. Sure enough, it won't let us reach the finish line unimpeded. Ling saw the intentions of the instructors, and this explanation was indeed acceptable to everyone. If the opponent is a student, the intensity set by the enemy should not be very high. Luoluo calmly analyzed the mentor's psychology, and her words made everyone feel at ease. The robot, which was slightly taller than Aika, raised its arm, which was roughly assembled from various parts, and pointed its dark muzzle at the location where they were standing. Bullets were fired from the muzzle. The precursors of an attack of this level can be seen at a glance. Aika and Ling can easily avoid it. Although Luoluo and Wei 11 were a little reluctant, they still left the robot's locking range. The mud that was sprayed away by the impact of the bullet fully demonstrated its power. Isn't this live ammunition? Aika, who used a firearm, was the first to notice this. It's different from what was promised. Who told you this? I'm just saying that. I originally thought that with students as opponents, I would use dye bombs at most, but it turned out to be too naive. Ling, this thing is too dangerous, get rid of it. Easier said than done. The bullets of the two mechanical arms were continuously fired from the muzzle, and there was no need for cooling or reloading time. Aika and Ling, who were responsible for the attack, could not find a chance to attack. I can block an attack of this level. Wei 11, who was with Ling, suddenly said this. It would be much easier if you can do it. Can you hold on for 5 seconds? Wei 11's eyes told her fear, but she still agreed to Ling's request. Then let's do it here. The hemispherical barrier quickly expanded around the two people, blocking all ordinary bullets. The next moment, a golden ball of light flashed out of the barrier, severed the robot's two arms, and then penetrated its head. The expected explosion did not occur, and the destroyed robot's body gradually became blurred and finally disappeared. The metal bullets that landed all around also disappeared. Did you make it? Because Ika escaped with Luoluo, he did not take action until the end, and the enemy was solved by Ling. Praise me. Ling raised the corner of her mouth and made a request to Ika, who was walking towards the side. The biggest credit should go to Wei 11, she did a great job. Where? She looked very happy when Ika suddenly praised her. And me. You did a great job too. What, you look reluctant. What else do you want me to say? Nothing, Ling took the lead and continued to explore. Wei 11 smiled sheepishly at Ika and Luoluo, and then quickly followed. Let's go too. Luoluo. Ika turned around, and Luoluo seemed to be thinking about something on the spot, with a bad look on his face. Did you get hurt somewhere just now? He quickly returned to Luoluo and asked her eagerly. No. Don't scare me. Ika breathed a sigh of relief at Luoluo's answer. I'm sorry, where are Sister Ling and Xiao 11? Only then did she notice that the two people were no longer here. We've already reached the front, let's get there quickly. Luoluo seemed to be worried, but still followed Ika's footsteps. Where is the pedestal device to be activated? Ling looked around along the path, but could not find the pedestal device described. Because the pedestal devices are randomly placed, it is said that if you are lucky enough, it is possible for the 4 pedestal devices to be set in the same position. If you really have that kind of luck, it's best not to use it in this kind of place. It might be more cost-effective to use it in a lottery. The instructions say that if you find it near the pedestal device, you can spot it at a glance. In this case, there is no need to consider places like closets. Because it is an immersive environment, the houses here can be entered at will, so the search range becomes very large. Wei 11, can you estimate how big this barrier is? The conditions for victory are to leave the maze and activate the 4 pedestal devices. If you only look at the former, this artificial scene has an absolute advantage. Just keep following the road and you can leave the town. In contrast, outdoor scenes are much more difficult. Probably, it feels like Pufa Town. After converting the magic power and basic magic formula, Wei 11 came up with this answer. How do you say it? It's not big, it's small. It's not small. As a small town, it really can't be said to be big. But as a map for maze exploration, it is a bit exaggerated. Let's split up. Luoluo and I will go look around, and you guys will be responsible for the inside of the house. Ika suggested this. It's not safe to be separated in a place like this. What if something like that jumps out again? Ling did not agree immediately. Although Ika had just made her a little unhappy, Ling understood this clearly. You'll get used to that kind of thing after seeing it once. Wei 11, do you need to compensate for the damage to the things here? Of course not. I can rest assured that. Ika suddenly raised his gun, and silver magic bullets exploded on the roof a little far behind the two. The mechanical body disappeared into the air as it fell. Since it was prepared by the instructor, there should be quite a few more, and the closer to the target, the more. However, it should be no problem for you, right? Ika deliberately used this provocative tone to stimulate Ling, and sure enough, she bit the bait. It's the same whether you're here or not. I can rest assured that. So at the entrance of the town, they started to act in pairs. PDAs don't work here. Fortunately, the magic equipment of both of them can create the effect of flares. If an emergency gathering is needed, this method can be used to locate the location. After Ling and Wei 11 left, Ika and Luoluo also started heading to undeveloped areas beyond the road. Is there anything you care about? Ika asked Luoluo while paying attention to the movements around her. When she is worried, it is very obvious. Of course, this is only true for Ika. It's not a very important thing. Even if it's not important, I still want to know. It doesn't matter, I don't think about it anymore. Luoluo smiled as usual. Smiling faces like this are completely unconvincing. Ika stopped, took Luoluo's cheeks in his hands and rubbed them. This is what Luoluo did to Wei 11 in the preparation room of the twin class. Don't be like this. Luoluo gently took away Ika's hand. Everyone is watching. The progress of the game within the barrier is open to the public, but if they act separately, which side will be the object of observation? You will only know after you leave here. In short, you must pay attention to your behavior here, and Ika was a little negligent. Feel sorry. It's not that I hate. So, can you tell me? The sound of the conversation will not be transmitted outside. Or is it something that is not convenient for me to know? Luoluo was silent for a while, and finally spoke as if he gave up resistance. The first time I encountered danger, I couldn't do anything. I understand what you're worried about. If I say that it is necessary for you to stay by my side, will this make you feel at ease? Ling and Wei 11 will also say the same. Isn't that enough? I have never doubted my brother, nor have I ever doubted sister Ling and Xiao 11, but I am really. Hold up. What is Luoluo thinking? Ika is 90% sure that she can tell it right. This is probably the telepathy between brother and sister. You should also know what I will say. So, can you trust me? I believe. Luoluo's worries cannot be relieved with a few words, he can only give her enough peace of mind. Ika made up her mind, reached out to brush her bangs away, and kissed her forehead gently. Brother, Luoluo's reaction was huge this time. She pushed Ika away hard. I've already said it. After pushing Ika away, her momentum weakened. I don't know if the scene just now was seen by others, but Luoluo's face turned red. She had never done this kind of behavior 3 years ago, so it was completely normal for her to have such a reaction. Sorry, I can only do this. Ika looked away embarrassedly, feeling shame and guilt pressing on his heart at the same time. Sorry. Are you feeling better now? How can you be in a good mood after doing something like that? Sorry, let me rephrase the question. Does this make you feel a little more at ease? After a short moment of silence, Ika received a soft answer from Luoluo. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 174. Ling and Wei 11 searched the houses one by one. Because the pedestal device is placed in an obvious place, there is no need to waste time searching for it. Ling, who came down from the second floor, shook her head at Wei 11. Not here either. The pedestal device is only an item generated within the barrier, so it will not produce the magic power fluctuations unique to magic machines. Both of their abilities to sense magic were blocked. Let's go to the next place and have a look. Wei 11 and Ling left the house, and now 1/3 of the work has not been completed. I don't know how they are doing. If Luoluo is here, there is no need to worry even if Ika has a careless personality. Sister Ling, over there. Wei 11 tugged at the corner of her clothes nervously. Following the direction of her finger, several robots like those seen at the entrance to the town appeared from the residential complex. It's the same as what that guy said. Ling had to admit what Ika said, you'll get used to it after meeting her once. The number that can be seen is 5, 2 of which are on the roof, and the other 3 are farther apart. You protect yourself and don't hide in the house. After Ling warned Wei 11 like this, she rushed towards the enemy group, and Wei 11 didn't even have time to call her out. The weapons used by the robot are the most common bullets. Wei 11 can survive this rain of bullets for several hours, but Ling will be seriously injured as long as he is hit by one bullet. Before the opponent raised his gun, Ling had already rushed in front of it and disarmed his hands. After removing the threat, Ling immediately changed the target. Her nearest enemy is on the roof. The 2 Kodaki swords turned into golden balls of light, successfully knocking down the enemies on the roof. But at this time, the remaining 6 guns were pointed at Ling. Bullets rained down, and Ling could only retreat behind the house and use bricks and stones as a cover. It's a little more difficult than imagined. After dodging the hail of bullets at the last moment, Ling experienced the feeling of surviving a disaster. To be honest, this feeling is uncomfortable. You can't feel it just by imagining it. You can only experience it personally when you are on the verge of death. Even though she told herself in her heart that she was not afraid, her legs still couldn't stop shaking, and she couldn't continue to fight back. The 3 robots were slowly advancing forward while pouring down bullets, and the encirclement was gradually shrinking. Even if I try hard, I don't know what the odds are of winning. Ling smiled mockingly, the 2 knives in her hands shattered, and hundreds of golden particles appeared around her. This is the last resort. The number of bullets should be more than 10 times that of golden particles. Ling doesn't know the meaning of this. Pale white lines suddenly appeared under her feet, and Ling didn't recognize them for a moment. If you look down from the roof, you will see a huge magic circle spread out in this area. The gunshots behind him didn't stop, but they didn't continue to get closer. Sister Ling, where are you? Wei 11's shout came from afar. Don't come over, I'm fine. I don't know what Wei 11 is doing, but it should be safe to listen to the voice, so Ling responded from a distance. They can't move anymore. Wei 11's voice made Ling startled for a moment, and then he immediately understood what she meant. Thank you. This sentence will not be heard by Wei 11 now, but Ling will come back to her in person and tell her. Using the golden particles and his own resonance, Ling knew what was going on outside. The bodies of all the robots were imprisoned in place by pale white magic crystals. Only the muzzles of their arms still fired bullets in fixed directions, and their arms could no longer rotate freely. Wei 11's barrier is really powerful. After their ballistic trajectories were fixed, the 3 robots turned into mere blocks of iron, posing no threat to Ling. The golden particles disintegrated the robots from 3 directions at the same time, and the gunfire stopped here. Silence returned to the surroundings, and Ling sat down against the wall. Sure enough, I can't do it alone. She wasn't lamenting it, just confirming it. Sister Ling, where is? Wei 11's voice gradually came closer to the side, and Ling stood up holding the blade of the knife. At least, you can't look discouraged in front of her, and do what a sister should do. Hearing gunshots in the distance, Aika and Lolo immediately knew what was happening on the other side. Are they okay? It was obviously his suggestion to split up, but now he was worried about their safety. Brother, don't you believe Sister Ling and Xiao 11? Haha. Unexpectedly, Luoluo would come up with the reasons he had used at this time, and Aika could only smile bitterly. Let's keep looking. The 2 of them were already some distance away from the main road, but they still didn't see the conspicuous pillar device. Brother, there seems to be someone over there. Luoluo suddenly reminded Aika in a low voice. It would be great if they were from our own class. If they are students from the twin classes, they can cooperate to clear the level. If they are students from the other 3 classes, the situation will not be so optimistic. The teleportation magic circle can randomly teleport students in other enchantment areas to another enchantment area. After the transfer, the difficulty of the maze will either increase or decrease. Everything is determined by luck. It is the last choice when there is nothing you can do in this area. Even if he finds the teleportation magic circle, Aika will never use it before discussing it with Ling and Wei 11. Therefore, the two did not meet each other rashly, but secretly hid and waited to see what would happen. Only one person. It's a girl I don't know. Have the others in the group left? Brother, what should I do? I am not sure as well. The other party seemed to have noticed the gunshots in the distance and started walking towards that side. Do you want to stop her here and ask her about her purpose? Or should we leave it to Ling and Wei 11? Aika hesitated. The air shook slightly, and 5 robots appeared out of thin air behind the girl. I finally saw the scene when the robot appeared with my own eyes, but Aika was not happy at all. Why did you choose this time? There is no time to continue to hesitate. Even if she is a competitor from other classes, Aika cannot let her face so many enemies alone. Brother, you can't do this alone. As soon as Aika was about to stand up, Luoluo grabbed her clothes tightly. It's not one person, it's 2 of us. It's up to you to cover me. Even if you say so. Without hearing what Luoluo said, Aika rushed out of the bush where he was hiding. Who are you? Hearing the movement, the girl slowly turned around and noticed the strange movement behind her. When she saw Aika, her lips moved slightly. They are our enemies here, just defeat them. I don't know if the enemies in all the barrier areas are the same, so Aika reminded the girl like this first. Mechanical alchemy, Predator. 6 small floating cannons were assembled beside Aika, and the robots took a step back. Strangeness. The robots' movements look a little strange. Aika pulled the triggers of both guns and simultaneously controlled the Predator to weave a silver laser ballistic net, but all failed. The 5 robots used speeds that were completely unmatched by the previous ones to avoid Aika's intricate attacks. Tisk, will this thing also evolve? Brother, left. Luoluo's voice was close at hand, and Aika pointed the gun to the left without hesitation and pulled the trigger. The enemy's sneak attack on the left was counterattacked by Aika with a more violent attack, and he lost his figure. As a result, the defensive force on his right and directly in front completely disappeared. However, it was not attacked for this reason. Lolo's flames hit the robot's body, the bullets shot into the soil next to Aika, and the 2 muzzles of another robot were also frozen. She learned her ice magic from Wei 11, and Wei 11 learned her ice magic from Liu Yin. Both of them also had little knowledge of it, so they could only use it to this extent. However, the opportunity she created was firmly seized by Aika, and the Predator destroyed the 3 basically paralyzed robots at the same time. The girl suddenly accidentally bumped into Aika while dodging, and the bullet from the last robot swept past the 2 of them and missed. Thanks. Although his back hurt a little when he was knocked down, it was at least better than being hit by a bullet. The bullets fired based on the feeling will defeat the last enemy. Saved. Aika breathed a sigh of relief. Where is that girl? You were here just now. Because the situation was urgent, I didn't even notice that the girl had escaped. I met competitors from other classes and so many enemies at the same time, so of course I won't stay here for long. Brother. But Luoluo's voice still sounded very nervous. That pendant. Aika looked along her trembling fingers. There was a broken magic tool lying on the ground next to him, and its former shape could barely be seen. He unconsciously reached out to his waist and felt a touch that shouldn't be there. Luoluo still has her pendant tied around her wrist. Then, the broken magic tool emitted a dazzling light, and the transfer magic circle that had only been seen in class unfolded at the feet of Aika and Luoluo. Wei 11's confinement barrier unfolded very quickly, and Ling repelled the 2 new waves of robots with her help. The number of robots in each wave is fixed at 5. After the first round of battle, this kind of enemy has lost its threat in front of the 2 people. The game has started 2 hours ago. Wei 11 glanced at the PDA as she walked. The PDA's role here was only the time function. Although the robot is not a very troublesome opponent, it is a waste of time. Now Ling is no longer looking for the pedestal device as leisurely as she was at first, and Wei 11 has to work hard to keep up with her. They found 2 pedestal devices from the shabby residential complex around them. After injecting magic power, the color of the crystal ball on the pedestal device changed. Is this considered activated? This should be. At this point, all residences have been searched. Further forward is the exit of the town, and the transfer magic circle on the ground shines with a faint blue light. The teleportation magic circle has been activated. Did the 2 of them activate the remaining pedestal devices? Only after activating the 4 randomly set pedestal devices will the teleportation magic circle at the end be activated. Now that Wei 11 is sure that the teleportation magic circle has been activated, Ika and Luoluo should be ready to return. Sister Ling, shall we wait here, or just wait here, and tell them our current location by the way? Ika and Luoluo probably don't know that all the pedestal devices have been activated. If you don't signal, they may continue to search. Ling threw the long knife in his hand into the sky. Above the 2 people's heads, golden sun flames bloomed. After waiting for a while, I still didn't get the response I had discussed with Ika in advance. That guy, must he have forgotten? The biggest possibility is that you didn't pay attention to the signals you sent. Without his response, there is no way to know the location of Ika and Lolo in this town, and there is no way to take the initiative to join them. It's so scary. Ling kicked the pebbles away from her feet vigorously, venting her tiredness and dissatisfaction accumulated over the past 2 hours. Sister Ling, it's still a long time before the game ends. Just wait a little longer. As long as the clearance conditions are met within the limited time, the score will not be affected. I don't care about time. What on earth are they doing? Can't that guy even spare the time to respond to himself? Groups from other classes may come here too. Wei 11 tried hard to find a reason for Ling to calm down and wait. What do you want to say? It was obvious that she was in a very bad mood at the moment. Wei 11 flinched a little, but still persisted. If anyone else passes through here now, it will become. I know that. Well, Brother Ika and Luoluo may have met classmates from other classes, so now. Just treat it like that. Ling seemed to accept Wei 11's guess, and her tone became much calmer. Let's hold on to this place until they come back. Seeing that Ling was finally willing to calm down and wait, Wei 11 secretly breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 175. Ling and Wei 11 didn't wait too long. 2 figures walked from the undeveloped area to the exit of the town where they were. But it wasn't Ika and Luoluo. Wei 11's worries became a reality. What a coincidence, classmate Ling, classmate Wei 11. Brad Luo 11 met Ling and Wei 11 who were guarding here. Who are you? Ling still remembers the boys who communicated with Ika and Luoluo before the game. The leaves are stuck to my clothes. A familiar figure emerged from the bushes behind the boy, with a leaf still in her hair. Why did you come just now? Haven't you been following me? Classmate Brad, you are walking too fast. Instead of her incomprehensible tone of voice, the bristling hair on her little head swayed slightly. When they saw her, Ling and Wei 11 quietly breathed a sigh of relief. At least it was someone he knew who appeared out of nowhere. As she was taking off the leaves hanging on her uniform one by one, she noticed the other 2 people present. Classmate Ling, classmate Wuxi, you are also here. I also want to say this. Even if you know someone you know, meeting them on such an occasion may not be something worth touching. Ling held the handles of 2 small dachi swords and stood in front of Wei 11. So you guys know each other, I'm Brad Roche. Sensing Ling's intention, Brad also took a step to protect Lilu behind him. This small gesture gave Ling a little understanding of his personality. What are you going to do? However, Lilu walked out from behind Brad and stood between the two people who were at war with each other. Lilu-san, have you forgotten the purpose of our coming here? Purpose? Clear the maze. Now that you know it, stop being naive. But you haven't asked classmates Ling and Wei 11 what they think. Is it still necessary to ask this kind of question? Brad looked troubled. Thank you, Lilu-san. But Brad-san is right, I won't let you pass here. Did you hear that? Where are Ika and Luoluo? Relu, who felt a little regretful, noticed that the two people were not here at this time. I don't know where. Ling simply answered, since you came from there, haven't you met them? There are indeed signs of fighting there, but we haven't met anyone else. Brad answered Ling's question on Lilu's behalf. Yeah. I won't say anything unnecessary. Now that we are all here, it is impossible for us to go back. Brad and Ling are in the same battle, and the final passer can only be determined through a decisive battle. Black mist gathered in Brad's right hand, and a black sword with a sharp serrated blade was grasped in his hand. Which one is stronger, the dark moon of the Roxy family or the light flame sword of the Heinz family? Let's give it a try. Ling was not surprised when Brad said his Fu surname. I thought of this possibility after hearing his surname. If he said that, he must already know the identities of Ika and Luoluo, and Ling could probably guess the content of their conversation before the game. Is Dark Moon the name of that magic weapon? Yes. If you use the light flame sword as your opponent, it would be rude not to use your full strength. Dark Moon's sword body was flowing with dark light, and the jagged blade revealed a ferocious flavor. Ling moved his left foot one step back, placed the left knife across his chest, and at the same time pulled the right knife back. Brad suddenly accelerated with his sword, and the Dark Moon drew an arc in the sky with an ominous light. Sparks burst out between the golden Kodaki and the black sword. Good weight. Although Ling had been mentally prepared, Brad's sword still forced her legs to bend slightly backward to maintain balance. Brad could see that Ling's heart was shaken, and without giving her time to adjust her mentality, Brad picked up the black sword and continued to attack. Every strike of Dark Moon struck down with the momentum that would inevitably break the slender blade of the light flame sword. Although every blow is very heavy for Ling, Brad swings the sword seemingly effortlessly, and his movements are not slow at all. The holder of the magic armor will not be affected by its negative effects, and Ling, who wields the light flame sword, is not surprised by this. After guarding thoroughly for a while, Ling had a rough understanding of Brad's sword style. It's far worse than that guy. Are you comparing me to the Templars of the Knights of the Purple Rose? Indeed, I cannot compare with him, and I will not show off on this point. Brad was not present at Ling and Ika's exercises in August, but only knew a little about them. I didn't expect you to admit it so easily. Ling Ben tried to use a provoking method on him, so that he might be able to find some flaws. This is a fact. The ferocious sawtooth hit the spot where Ling was standing a second ago, leaving a deep groove on the ground. Ling's Kodaki slid against Anyu's blade and escaped from the blade's attack. Brad also stopped attacking, and both of them stood outside the opponent's offensive defense. I only found out about you and Luoluo's identity after hearing about that incident. Why did you keep it a secret last semester? Suddenly, Brad asked about something completely unrelated to the current game. It probably has nothing to do with you, right? Neither the Heinz family nor the Chiz family are no longer nobles. Ling was not interested in discussing this issue with the person he met for the first time. No, the Chiz family and the Heinz family will always be the heroes of the Bis Empire. This has nothing to do with whether they are nobles now. So, why are you so excited? Lingdu was a little startled when Brad suddenly acted like a passionate young man. That is. I just want to know. Classmate Luoluo, and my parents are always vague when talking about this matter. What do you want to do after knowing this? That has nothing to do with you. Brad seemed to want to skip this topic and raise Dark Moon again. Ling also breathed a sigh of relief because this topic was brought to an end. Although there was an inexplicable episode during the battle between the two, the fact that it was now the middle of the game would not change. After I win, please ask Ling to answer my questions. What if I win? I'll answer your question. These two questions are not equivalent at all, are they? It's equal, for me. Brad's tone made Ling have no choice but to believe what he said. Okay, I agree to your request. Ling moved her arm that was paralyzed by the shock of the Dark Moon. She used this time to recover almost, and she took a step forward. You only have this request. Is it right? Then. She showed a victorious smile. Even if you win, you can't use the teleportation magic circle. I never promised that. Brad took a moment to react, and Ling took advantage of the loophole in his promise. Didn't I just confirm it to you? This is your only request. As expected of a member of the Heinz family. I think these are probably two different things, but I can't lose to you. On the blades of the two Kodaki swords, the magical light in the delicate line slowly flows. When using the light flame sword, Ling's physical ability can be greatly improved, although after that, the body will be sore for a few days due to overload exercise. I will return this sentence to you intact. A thick fog of magic energy surrounded Dark Moon's sword body, and the magic power contained in the sword was no longer restrained. Gold and darkness swirled once again. The tug-of-war between Brad and Ling gradually moved away from the teleportation magic circle at the exit of the town, leaving the stunned Wei 11 and Lei Lu here. They seemed to have forgotten each other's existence, and they all stared nervously at the whirlpool of magic power not far away. Lilu was the first to come back to her senses, and she secretly glanced at Wei 11. Then I will first. Lilu began to move little by little towards the teleportation magic circle behind her. Lilu-kun. I'm sorry, classmate Wei 11, I don't want to fight with you. After her sneaky movements were discovered by Wei 11, Lilu immediately gave up her disguise and ran towards the teleportation magic circle in desperation. But before she could take 2 steps, Wei 11 hugged her from behind. No, we can't go there. Wei 11 forcefully dragged Lilu in place while waving her hands and feet. No matter what, we can't let Lilu go there, we can't waste Sister Ling's efforts. Let me go, ah. The 2 girls who were struggling together were tripped and fell to the ground. Pain. Sorry. Lilu ignored the scratches on her legs and climbed up while holding onto the ground while apologizing. Lilu-san, where is? Wei 11 hadn't stood up from the ground yet. She looked around, but there was no figure of Lilu around. Using the hallucinations of the elves, Lilu disappeared in front of Wei 11. The scrape on her knee had forced her to move only in small steps, which at least gave her a slight chance of victory. Just as she was about to reach the finish line, a pale white magic circle emerged at her feet. Pale white magic tentacles quickly climbed up from the solace of Lilu's feet. What is this? The legs wrapped in pale white tentacles cannot move forward even half a step. Lilu-san's voice. Wei 11, who was lying on the ground and stretched out her hand, noticed Lilu's scream. Not sure if it would be effective, Wei 11 deployed a confinement barrier within a range that would not hinder Ling and Brad. The magic crystals used on robots will cause slight damage to the human body, so Wei 11 deliberately made small modifications to reduce the output of magic power. Therefore, the magic power will no longer condense into crystals. As for what shape it has become, Wei 11 herself does not know. Lilu's figure appeared. Her whole body was entangled with pale white tentacles, and she fell crying in front of the teleportation magic circle. Under the uniform that became messy during the struggle, the circulating magic tentacles squirmed unbridled. Classmate Wei 11, please put this away, I will never run away again. There was a cry in Lilu's voice, her hands were restrained, and she could only let the tentacles roam around her body. The moment Dark Moon and the Light Flame sword collided, black mist immediately wrapped around the Kodaki blade, and Ling quickly drew the sword and retreated. In just a few confrontations, Ling had already noticed Dark Moon's abilities. Whenever the black mist wraps up, Ling will feel tired for a moment. Have you noticed it? I originally wanted Dark Moon to eat more. Can that mist absorb magic power? To put it simply, that's it. After discovering Dark Moon's ability, Ling no longer fights with Brad. Even though he knew there was no need to continue hiding, Brad did not pursue the victory. This kind of ability like a thief doesn't suit you very well. Can't come into contact with that black mist. It should be called seizing, because Dark Moon absorbed the magic power of the Light Flame sword openly. The dark mist wrapped around the sword became thicker. Brad raised the sword high above his head, and the black mist dispersed in all directions, surrounding the two of them. Ling quickly held her breath, but still inhaled a little bit of black mist. There was a sudden dizziness in front of her eyes, and she knelt on one knee unsteadily. Please be careful. If you inhale too much of this black mist, you will die. I don't want that to happen. The Dark Moon dragged a groove on the ground, and Brad came to Ling, looking down at her condescendingly. Thanks for reminding. So, give in now. Brad dispelled the dark fog surrounding Ling, leaving her with a chance to think. Finally able to breathe freely, Ling choked and coughed due to the fresh air pouring into her lungs. Have you thought about it? I know. Ling stood up on her knees, and Brad jumped back and distanced herself from her. Go on. I'm not bluffing, you'll die if you continue. I know, after all, I have experienced it myself. Ling's body is still shaking a little, and the blade thrust out now will not pose a threat to Brad, but I don't want to admit defeat, that's all. The two small dachi swords were quietly shattered, and in her right hand, a nearly 2-meter-long sword shone with cold light. Facing another stance of the Light Flame sword, Brad held the Dark Moon in front of him and increased his vigilance. The dark fog enveloped me again. Although I don't know who you are, I can only trust you now. Lingji held the long knife and did not put up any posture. This sentence is not only said to myself, but also to that voice. At that moment, a large amount of information poured into Ling's mind. If you insist like this, then I'm sorry. Although I usually don't care about the false reputation of my family, but I really want to win against the Heinz family. If you can do it. Ling held the Light Flame sword vertically in front of him. This was not the starting position for any kind of swordsmanship. Brad's Roxy family is not a swordsman family like the Heinz family, nor has they studied swordsmanship. Dark Moon's power does not require superb swordsmanship to be unleashed. As an amateur in swordsmanship, he noticed that Ling was not planning to use her expertise, but had other intentions. The golden blade of the Light Flame sword changed. Several magic arrays of basic magic unfolded simultaneously on the nearly 2-meter blade. A huge special magic array also bloomed under Ling's feet. That coat of arms is. Brad has been admiring the two legendary families known as the Two Towers of Bios since he was a child. In the history books, the same coat of arms on the pages has been deeply imprinted in his mind. That huge special magic circle is the family crest of the Heinz family. Light Flame sword elemental control blazing red lotus. A thick fire tornado rose from the ground, and the high temperature that erupted instantly burned away the black mist of the Dark Moon, and the heat wave also repelled the sudden incoming Brad. At the critical moment, Brad used Dark Moon's own black mist as a barrier to buffer the attack. Haha, is this really basic magic? With the blessing of the Dark Moon, this level of impact did not have much impact. But this turned out to be the effect of basic magic, and the corners of Brad's mouth twitched. As the holder of the Light Flame sword, Ling will not be affected in any way although he is at the center of the heat wave. Flames wrapped around the golden blade. Ling held the knife in both hands, turned her body slightly, and pulled back the handle. Her eyes were reflected in the flames of the blade. "Come on, this is probably the final blow." Brad seemed to be in a good mood, raising the black sword in his hand. "Eat her up." The overflowing jet black light turned into a ferocious head that resembled a monster on Dark Moon's sword. The excess magic power dropped from between the fangs like saliva, corroding the ground into huge pits. Light flame sword. Dark Moon. Blazing red lotus instant flash. The wrath of Cronus. The rolling flames and the golden stream of light turned into a line, piercing the giant mouth that was given the name of Devouring. The impact of the magic equipment colliding with each other was enough to level the entire town. The two girls who were unfortunately involved were now hugging each other and shivering. Sisterling. Classmate Way 11, hold on. After freeing Lilu from her restraints, she built the strongest defensive barrier, Kang Phosphorus Birdcage, to protect Lilu and herself. This high-level barrier that once brought the out-of-control airship flying to the kingdom of Tiburai back to the ground. After the range was reduced to 2 people, the density of the magic power increased exponentially. The magic power of the light flame sword and the Dark Moon was only a few meters away from the two of them. It was extremely close. It was unknown how long this huge wave of magic power would last. Way 11 was not sure that she could persist until the end, so she could only pray silently with Leilu, who was hugging each other. A brief dizziness suddenly struck the 4 people present. When she blinked again, Way 11 found herself in the central square of Shiyu Academy. The competition barrier was overwhelmed and forced teleportation was implemented. The aftermath of the transferred magic left a shocking ravine in the central square. Way 11 and Leilu were still kneeling and hugging each other, while Ling and Brad also maintained their sword-wielding postures, standing staggered. Everyone was teleported back as they were. Brad slowly fell down, Lingyi knelt on the ground with both legs, and the light flame sword and Dark Moon shattered and disappeared at the same time. The only people who were still awake at the scene were Way 11 and Leilu, as well as the classmates who had left early and had been teleported back. Brother Ika, Lolo. Helpless Way 11 hurriedly raised her head, looking for her family in the crowd. However, family members were nowhere to be seen. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Endless Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 176. Ika and Luoluo were transferred to a strange place by a strange teleportation magic circle. Brother, is this really a maze of competition? I have no way of judging. The two were teleported to a long corridor with no doors or windows around them and only cold lights above their heads. The pendant-type magic tool distributed by Shimizuki Academy should send the holder back to the central square, but this place does not look like the scenery of the central square. Is that magic tool left behind by that girl? The 3 of us and her here can only think so. After being transferred here, the two did not move around at will. The scenes within the barrier are not limited to natural scenery, so it is still possible that it is a maze for the competition. Way 11 is not around, and neither Ika nor Luoluo has the ability to analyze the barrier and can only act based on their own judgment. After waiting for a while and no one else came, the two began to move down the corridor. How long has the game been going on? Please wait a moment. Luoluo looked at the PDA in question. It's been 2 hours. Is the PDA still unable to communicate? Yes. Luoluo shook his head regretfully. Ling and Way 11 are staying over there, and now there's no way to contact them. Things have become troublesome. There are some closed rooms along the way, and locks are set on the doors to allow specific magic ripples to pass through. Both Ika and Luoluo tried it, but it had no effect at all. The scene is a closed place, and there are so many side roads. Ika was alert to her surroundings as she walked. If robots like those in small towns appear again, There will be no place to hide in such a place. Brother, look over there. Luoluo's voice reminded the tense Aika. Elevator. In the direction of Luoluo's finger, there was indeed an elevator parked. The two approached the elevator cautiously, but luckily nothing suddenly ran out. It doesn't look like a trap. Aika breathed a sigh of relief. Brother, this lift can only go below. There is only one button on the console, one-way access. There are no roads around, so we can only move forward by taking this one. Aika asked Luoluo's choice with her eyes. Then go down there, I won't leave my brother. To be honest, even I feel that this place is particularly eerie. Aren't you the most afraid of this kind of atmosphere? I'm very scared now. You really can't tell on the surface, you've grown up. Does my brother still want me to hold you here and refuse to let go? If that really happens, I can accept it with a smile. I don't want, otherwise I will be laughed at by them again when I go back. They. It's just the classmates in the class. Did they say anything to you? Brother doesn't need to know, this is a secret between girls. Every time Luoluo used this kind of reason, it was probably something she didn't want to say. Although Aika became more and more curious, he would not deliberately invade his sister's privacy. Press the button to go down, and the elevator comes into operation. If you encounter danger here, just use that magic tool. During the descent, Aika suddenly said this to Lolo. If you use it, it's an automatic forfeit. At least it's better than getting you hurt. Because Sister Ling and Xiao 11 are not here, my brother wants to take the responsibility for my failure, right? Because I am my brother's sister, so in everyone's eyes, this behavior is normal, right? Luoluo, listen to me. Because I don't have the power like Sister Ling and Xiao 11, so the failure is all my brother's fault, right? Listen to me first. Aika's hands firmly grasped Luoluo's weak shoulders, and Luoluo's slightly painful expression made him sober up a little. Don't always think that what I do is for your benefit. I do it for myself. Brother is lying again. It doesn't matter what you think. I don't want to see you get hurt, so I'm going to drive you back. Do you have to say this to accept it? Aika grabbed Luoluo's wrist. He could crush the magic tool tied to his wrist with just a move of his fingers. If my brother did that, I might really hate him. Luoluo did not resist Aika's rough behavior, and only responded with indifferent words. I said I did this for myself. Obviously I don't have to have this attitude, but I will listen to my brother. Luoluo gently pulled away the wrist held by Aika, showing a slightly lonely smile. I'm sorry, I am too willful. No. The elevator was about to reach the bottom floor, but the regret in Aika's heart surged. I won't worry about my brother anymore by saying things like that. Luoluo hugged Aika in this small space and did not let go of his body until the elevator stopped. If I'm in danger, I'll run away. Brother is not allowed to stay either. Yes, I promise you. There is only one straight corridor extending from the elevator, and at the end is a huge iron door that is as high as the ceiling. If this is still a maze, it should be the end. There were no devices that looked like opening doors on the surrounding walls, and they still exuded a cold metallic sheen. Luoluo has been feeling uncomfortable since arriving here, and her premonitions have always been accurate. Brother, it might be really dangerous here. Even I feel like this. Aika let go of his hand, and the two guns shattered before hitting the ground, mechanical alchemy Vulcan cannon combination. The heavy firearm formed by 6 barrels is reassembled. It seems like this is the only way to open the door. The huge iron door seemed unbreakable, but under the fierce firepower of the fire eyes, a large hole was still easily opened. Don't stay too far away from me. I know. Luoluo got closer to Aika and followed him through the broken iron gate. In the space behind the iron door, the surroundings and the top of the head were filled with darkness, which seemed to be endless. A huge machine shining like platinum stood quietly in this spacious space. Aika opened her mouth, but nothing came out. The air here seems to have weight, and breathing becomes difficult. Brother, get out of here quickly. Luoluo frowned in disgust, and she tugged on Aika's clothes to urge him. But, go that way. Except for the iron gate behind him and the ground beneath his feet, everything else was the same color. I have no idea. Luoluo took a few steps in a daze, not noticing that he had left Aika's side. Why does the air here? He could only see the rough outline of the huge machine in the distance. Contrary to his slightly heavy brain, the Vulcan cannon combination in his hand became lighter. The magic power of magic equipment. The core of the magic machine is the molecular power furnace. If magic machines were compared to humans, the molecular power furnace would be the lungs. The lungs draw oxygen from the air, and the molecular power furnace draws magic from the air. Being able to naturally fill the magic weapon eye of fiery flame with magic power, there must be magic power beyond imagination in the air. In such an environment, the human body will have a reaction of being poisoned by inhaling pure oxygen, which is the source of dizziness. If you say so. Lolo. He realized the important point and suddenly turned his head but could not see Luoluo behind him. Looking around, he found the figure not far away. Hearing Aika's anxious shouts, Luoluo turned around in confusion. Elder brother. Come back quickly. That machine. When the magic machinery is activated, it will release 1/10,000th of the magic power of its molecular power furnace. This is a problem that modern magic machinery cannot solve. There is so much magic in the air here that Aika can only think of one possibility. While conveying this information to Luoluo, he used the corner of his eye to pay attention to the huge machine that could only see its outline. At this moment, what he was worried about happened. The huge machine stretched upward into the dark part, and there was a little flash of red light. Aika instantly understood the identity of the red dot. Professor Kokina has taught Aika that moving objects are generally prioritized in the design of magical mechanical attacks. The only person moving in this space now is her. Ling and Brad lost consciousness together and were carried away by the medical team. Teacher Letica ran anxiously to Way 11 who was about to cry. Where are classmates Aika and Luoluo? Didn't they come back with you? This was exactly the question Way 11 wanted to ask, and teacher Letica spoke first. Letica, calm down. Another instructor Way 11 didn't know pulled Letica back. It seems like she doesn't know either. How come? Instructor Letica's legs weakened and she collapsed on the ground. What happened to brother Aika and Luoluo? Way 11 knew from the words of the two mentors that they had indeed not come back. The barrier you are in was invaded by a stranger. It should be said that a stranger mixed in with the students and participated in the competition. Wilbur, now is not the time to explain this kind of problem. You should calm down. Letica, Ling is also my student, and I will also be responsible for this group. Wilbur's scolding left Letica speechless for a moment, and she faced Way 11 again and continued to explain. The other party acted alone, and the surveillance was randomly adjusted. When we didn't notice, she accurately positioned the teleportation magic circle to the barrier where you are. I didn't find. You did not construct the magic formula of the enchantment. Of course you will not find it, so there is no need to blame yourself. Instructor Wilbur comforted Way 11, even your instructor in the enchantment department did not notice this abnormality. Teacher Wilbur, those students are awake. Okay, I'll go over right away. Wilbur stood up from in front of Way 11, Letica, I'll leave the rest of the explanation to you. She followed the students who came to inform and hurried to other places. What Instructor Wilbur said is true. When we found out, she had already entered your barrier. We originally planned to subdue her in the barrier, but Aika and Luoluo misunderstood our actions. Then, the magic reaction of the two of them disappeared. He may have been sent to other places outside the barrier by teleportation magic, so his life should not be in danger. Teacher Letica finally added this. Where is that person? After activating the two pedestal devices, I used teleportation magic to escape. The remaining two pedestal devices were not activated by Brother Ika and Luoluo. Wei 11 suddenly noticed the light coming from the teleportation magic circle in the center of the venue. The game is over and all the barriers have been closed, so the person being teleported back now is. Wei 11 ran towards the place where the light emitted without thinking. Passing through the crowded students, she pushed aside those who stood in her way. Brother Ika, Lolo. Now she just wants to see those two people. Wei 11's uncharacteristic behavior caused the students present to make way for her. They did come back, but Wei 11's excitement suddenly cooled down. Did you pray too late? The scarlet color spreading on the ground stimulated every fragile nerve of Wei 11. Luoluo lay on Ika's body, her white skin, long sky blue hair and spotless uniform all stained with colors that did not belong to her. Wei 11 took a staggering step forward, and the adults from the medical team surrounded the two people who had fallen on the ground. It wasn't until Ika and Luoluo were lifted out of her sight that Wei 11 knelt down weakly on the ground. The bright red liquid that had lost its temperature spread along her calves, onto the white knee-high socks, and over the long white hair scattered on the ground. The lowered hands touched the unfamiliar sticky feeling, but at this time, Wei 11 could no longer feel anything. End La Silver Machine. Author, Muse Hiking. Chapter 177. The Petak prison in the capital of the Bis Empire was severely damaged during the cross-border war. The prisoners rioted collectively under artillery fire, which accelerated its collapse. The original prison ruins are now buried deep underground. But even in such peaceful times, a country would have at least one prison. The newly built prison is located on the site of the original Petak prison. It retains its former name and its appearance is exactly the same as it was 100 years ago. It's just that the flat land is now surrounded by lakes, with a radius of more than 60 kilometers separating the prison from the land. The new Petak prison was built on an isolated island and was used to imprison special criminals, most of whom were magicians. Therefore, the prison was always surrounded by a city defense barrier that could not be entered or exited at will. While the students of Shigetsuki Academy were still enjoying the afterglow of the first day of the Moonflower Festival, alarm bells were ringing on this isolated island. There are only two intruders, repeat that, goo. The microphone hung from the table, and the wire attached to the tail dragged it from side to side in mid-air. When did you get here? The remaining person in the room opened fire as if losing his mind, but the gunfire stopped after the bullets left a series of bullet marks on the walls and ceiling. It's getting quiet here. The girl stood alone in the dark room, with only the occasional spark from the equipment damaged by sputtering bullets. She raised her hand, sparks illuminated the sharp claws extending from her fingers, and the dark red blood began to dry up. So dirty. Whether it was the blood stains on her nails or the smell of blood in the room, the girl felt uncomfortable all over. How strange. In my memory, my body should have been accustomed to this color and smell. Why do you still feel like this now? Ah, I still need to find Daddy. Just as an option to leave here appeared, the girl pushed open the distorted door and left the room. The air in the corridor outside the room is also turbid, not much fresher than inside the room. The girl covered her nose and walked quickly through the corridor. The corridor extending from the door of the communication room was also covered in dark red and fishy stench. The warden is now in August, and even if the news of the invasion of Petak prison reaches his ears, he will not be able to come back for a while. The other magicians who stayed here were no obstacle to this man who was still wearing beach wear in the spring. As the only existing prison in the BZ Empire, the national magicians who can guard it must be elite level, comparable to a well-trained army. Especially in the face of this kind of prison robbery attack, they can still deal with it calmly. Therefore, it is not that the defensive side is too weak, but that the offensive side is too strong. The girl jumped up and ran towards the source of the earthquake that caused the entire prison to shake. Suddenly, the wall beside him was shattered by a huge force, revealing a huge hole. Her figure nimbly passed through the splashing rubble and rushed through the hole to the other side of the wall. Dad. Sure enough, the person she was looking for was on the other side of the wall, and the girl opened her arms excitedly and ran over. It turns out to be Ya. I was shocked. The unemployed uncle who was supposed to be working lazily in a tavern in Pufa town to pay off his debts was now here. Just as Girly was about to welcome Ya's safe return with a hug, his eyes suddenly noticed her blood-stained hands. Ya also noticed Girly's gaze, slowed down his steps, and hid his hands behind his back in a panic. Did you kill someone again? There was a hint of anger in Girly's tone. They shot me first. Before coming here, didn't I warn you that you would be attacked? Have I ever stressed not to kill people? Stop there. Ya's mood hit rock bottom, and she originally hoped to be praised. Of course, Girly noticed Ya's mood swings, and he scratched his hair nervously. Bring it on. Give me a victory hug. But I'm very dirty. Ya's clothes were not as dirty as she said, not even stained with a trace of blood. She felt that her existence was very dirty. I wouldn't have picked you up if you were dirty. Come on. Girly half bent down and once again took the initiative to open his arms to Ya. The smile slowly returned to Ya's face. She took out the handkerchief in her pocket and wiped the coagulated blood stains on her claws. Then she retracted her claws. Her hands were no different from those of ordinary girls. After making herself a little cleaner, Yake threw herself into Jali's arms. Dad, I have completed the task you gave me. If it can be done without killing anyone, I'll be satisfied. I don't want to kill anyone, my chest feels so uncomfortable. Her listless tone made Girly startled for a moment, and then he raised the corners of his mouth. It's already a big improvement for you to have such an idea. I take back the preface, it's amazing. Girly suddenly changed his previous attitude, laughed boldly and touched Ya's hair. Ya was also surprised when she suddenly got a performance that she had no hope for. In the end, she happily accepted the unexpected reward. Okay, it's time to get down to business. After giving Ya the reward, Girly glanced at the fallen guards around him. They all just lost consciousness. When I found it, the phone seemed to be connected. What did they say? I didn't pay much attention, I forgot. Probably reporting our numbers. It seems like this. Dad is so awesome. If it were me, I would do it first. Jali pondered for a moment, then patted Ya on the shoulder and motioned for her to follow. Hurry up. Aren't there any enemies anymore? The enemy is coming soon. If the Imperial City Defense Bureau doesn't know the number of intruders, they will have to think more about it during the operation, but there is no need for it now. Did I go late? Don't worry, at least now they don't know the situation in the prison. Your actions are meaningful. Well. Girly's comfort still makes Ya unable to mind. There are independent rooms on both sides of the empty corridor. The flow of magic is sealed in the room, which is a special cell where magicians are imprisoned. The shock just now did not make the criminals detained here become restless. They would not be surprised by this level of chaos. Scenes more shocking than this kind of chaos are not uncommon for criminals here. Here Girly stopped in front of the target's room and knocked hard on the door. Can the people inside hear you? No reaction, it's probably just a body inside. Dad, it seems there is no one. Whether there is anyone or not, let's open the door and take a look. Girly raised his fist and turned the iron door of the cell into a piece of scrap metal. The iron door that flew away with a punch hit the opposite wall and hit the bed next to the wall. There's really no one. Girly looked around the room at the door, and there was indeed no one there. I'll go in and look for it. Just as Ya was about to step into the room, he was pulled out by Gurley by the back of his collar. "Don't go in easily, you can't use magic power there." "I don't need magic." Ya looked puzzled. "I know, don't go inside anyway." Gurley didn't want Ya to enter the room because there was surveillance in the room. The communication room that Ya destroyed only manages the surveillance in the corridor, and the surveillance in the room operates independently. If she were told this fact, she would definitely be resentful of herself for not destroying all the surveillance. The iron door pressing against the bed suddenly moved, and Ya's attention was drawn to that side. "What the hell, are you abusing prisoners?" A man with messy hair emerged from under the iron door. If he hadn't been hit by the iron door, he would probably have looked neater. "It turns out there is someone here. If someone is there, please respond." "I'm sleeping." "Don't you know how to knock on the door?" "I knocked." "It's bad luck for me." The man crawled out from under the deformed iron door. "You are not from the prison." "Guessed it right." "Can I help you?" "I'm here to make a deal with you, Mr. Weir of the Nemesis Society." "Oh." Will raised his eyebrows, and his gaze at the two people at the door became much sharper. "Let me state in advance that I have nothing to do with your Nemesis Society." Gurley raised his hands to show the man his sincerity in negotiating. Ya next to him also raised his hands following his example. Okay, I understand." Weir waved his hand, not interested in continuing to doubt. "To put it simply, you are here to rob the prison, right?" "That's probably it." Ya nodded in affirmation. "Can I go out first?" "You'll be able to use magic when you get out, so let's just talk about it." "What do you want?" "The information you copied from the underground of the Imperial City Defense Bureau." "That thing, why do so many people want it?" "Has anyone else asked for you?" "Nothing." "I have a question, what are you going to do with that thing?" "I'm here to rescue you." "Anyway, you still have backup, isn't it the best of both worlds?" That's right. Weir knew that if he continued to ask, Gurley wouldn't answer. "I can give you that thing, but I have one more request." "Tell me the story." "Take me to Misty." "Misty, oh, that little girl. It's not too troublesome to have one more person. You can go and take her away with you." Will and Misty were separated in two different rooms, and there was no news about her every day. Will was already extremely anxious. Originally, he was going to make this request from the beginning, but Veer held back. "You cannot let an unknown counterparty know what you care about most, otherwise she may become a bargaining chip in the transaction." The whole prison shook again. "People from the Imperial City Defense Bureau should be here, hurry up." Gurley's expression turned serious. If the opponent is the main force of the Imperial City Defense Bureau, the chance of winning from here is slim. "Wait, how are you going to let Misty and I escape?" "We're surrounded now, right? If escape cannot be ensured, as long as Weir pretends to be a victim and stays here, he will not be targeted by the Imperial City Defense Bureau, and he can find another opportunity to escape in the future." "Go downstairs." Gurley stepped on the ground. "Down below are the ruins of Petak Prison. There is a road leading to the ground. Will you come together too? Now we are in the same boat. As for whether it is a mud boat or not, I don't know." "Then it's a deal. Let's go and take Misty with us." Two criminals escaped from Petak Prison last night, and two other prison robbers were unidentified. Several people were killed and injured. The next day, the news from the Bis Empire reported this.